Welcome everyone! For the ones of you who don't know me yet, my name is Zucconi and I'm a lecturer in artificial intelligence and a science communicator. If this is the first time you're watching this, a warm welcome to Gamedev Graveyard. Now, this is the weekly show where we talk about failed projects, games that didn't make it, and prototypes that never got released. Hi! So, as you've probably seen if you're watching from the previous episodes, there have been a lot of progress and improvements on the show, and I think that the first one that is obvious today is not just that I have a new microphone, but that for some reasons I'm blonde. So I think I had to update the graphics. Hello, the graphic as well. So because we have a new microphone and a new setup, at any point, if there's any problem with the audio, please just let me know and hopefully we can adjust everything live. You know, it's the excitement of doing things live. Now, today, as I've anticipated on Twitter, we have a guest that I'm really happy to introduce, and it's Linden Reid. He's a game engineer at Blizzard, and if you've been following my tutorials, you might have seen his work already. In fact, had a post, very popular one called Learning Shader, where I linked a lot of other resources. From different people that I thought were doing an amazing job, and Linden was indeed one of them. So it's a great honor to have him here. It's a great pleasure of me to being able to introduce you, and hopefully we'll be able to show a bit of his work, what he's doing, what he's been up to, and I hope that we can all enjoy and chat about it. There's going to be a few seconds delay, maybe like 30 seconds, a mini delay with the chat, but be assured as soon as I get a message, I will make sure to read it. And at any point, feel free to ask questions, and we will try both to address them. So without further ado, let me introduce Linden. Hello, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good today.
Okay, and if there's any problem with the audio, please just let me know, and hopefully, we can fix it. It's always a bit tricky when we have guests, so hopefully, there won't be any problem this time. So, would you like to introduce a bit of yourself, what you're doing, what you've been up to?
Yeah, totally. So, I'm an engineer at Blizzard. I'm on an unannounced project, and I specialize in rendering and just general like client engineering. And also I have that tutorial blog, which I haven't written very many new tutorials for lately, but it is still there, and I do still support it when I can. And I've got side projects going on, so I've got a lot going on in the game dev world.
Hopefully, a lot of stuff that we can see. So,
Totally. Yes.
just a question I wanted to get started is, why did you start making tutorials? Because I've been making tutorials for like 5 million years. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work. People read like, I don't know, a page and I think, okay, it took 15 minutes to write it. No, it took 15 minutes to read it. So
Yeah.
why did you start it? What was your experience with that?
Um, I wanted to like for a combination of reasons, partly because I was learning everything as I was going along of shader writing. And actually on my previous project on Limit Theory, which was like an indie procedurally generated space game, um, I had been writing devlogs for how I was building the spaceship generation systems. And I thought that was really fun. It was really interesting to like write down what I was like learning as I was going along. And so when I was learning graphics programming, I was like, I don't know, I think it'll be interesting to continue like writing tutorials about like how I'm learning this too. And I particularly wanted to do something that I hadn't seen being quite done before, which was talking about uh, like the absolute most basic stuff in the most basic perspective possible. So assuming that you had like no prior knowledge of like shader writing, so that it could be explained to people like me who are learning like the absolute basics and providing all of the source code, which I also don't see done a lot with programming tutorials sometimes. So I just kind of wanted to fill a niche that I hadn't seen be filled just yet. Um, and also just like documenting everything that I learned as I went along, which turned out to be really useful in the long run because now I reference my own tutorials all the time.
I know, right? I know.
Yeah,
That's exactly the same
totally.
thing I'm having now, where I'm just like Googling something and like, oh, it's my tutorial. but
Yeah,
but
I know.
no, but I think it's actually good because like I have a terrible memory, and that's why one of the
Uh-huh.
reasons why I started, as well, because I could not remember anything about shaders. It's one of those like dark arts that you constantly have to read through, and I think that especially if you're working with different technologies, in a lot of different languages, I can't remember all of them. Like I keep googling the most basic stuff because maybe I remember how
Yeah,
to do a for loop in C sharp and I forgot how to do it in Python. I
yeah.
constantly have that sort of feeling. And I think actually a lot of memories when you mentioned the game you were working on, because I remember I was obsessed with that. I was looking at all the dev blogs and seeing all the things that all the mechanics and things.
Uh-huh.
It's a shame they never got released, and it's a shame they never continue. But what was your experience on that, if you can talk about it?
On limit theory, particularly?
Yeah, yeah, if that's
Oh, sorry. Were you asking about like just projects in general or about limit
well,
theory in
limit theory. I
particular?
think it's quite an interesting one, But if you if
Oh,
you
yeah,
if
yeah,
you can
yeah.
talk about it,
Yeah, I can. Limit theory was a really fascinating project to work on. It was really like it was super, super ambitious. Like, so for those of you who don't know the whole premise of limit theory, it was not like No Man's Sky. It's every time I say procedural space game, people are like, oh, like No Man's Sky? And I'm like, no. It was kind of like if you ever played any of the classic like space exploration games like Freelancer, it was like that. It was 4X, like space exploration, like build up an army, build up a civilization, and like fly around the galaxies and um, just basically build up your own fleet. But everything was procedurally generated. So literally like every single vertex of every model, we didn't have any like models handmade by artists or anything like that. So what I was doing was working on like the library of procedural generation algorithms specifically to make spaceships first, and then eventually it would have also been like other space structures like space stations and stuff like that. But most of what I worked on in the beginning was just spaceships, and that was really interesting because like I I hadn't done any procedural geometry generation before. And so actually a lot of the tutorials on my blog, the less visited tutorials that nobody speaks of, are like the procedural geometry tutorials. I mean, I actually still do get comments like DMs about them sometimes. Like I mostly get DMs about my shaders, but I do sometimes still get stuff about the procedural geometry, and I get really excited about those. But um, yeah, it was really interesting because I was learning everything as I go along. And that's actually what led me to get into graphics programming because a lot of those skills for like 3D geometry generation are like directly relevant to graphics programming. It's a lot of like linear algebra as we use it to represent, 3D data, but for like computing. So it's basically the same concepts for shader writing. So yeah, that was really interesting. And it was really unfortunate. Like it was just like so ambitious of a project to just have like really originally just Josh do and then, just the three people do, that it didn't work out. But I think that we all took a lot away from it. I mean, I basically got into graphics programming because of it, which got me hired at Blizzard. And also another person on the team got hired at Blizzard like a couple of months before I did because of the work that he did on limit theory. So I feel like it all worked out.
no, it's actually a really
uh,
good experience, and I think that
yeah.
one of the things that keeps coming on every time we talk about projects that are
Hmm.
failed. Let me have both hands in the
Hmm.
camera. Failed is that
Uh-huh.
very often the project maybe doesn't end up where people want, but the people who work on that
Hmm.
project, they still got experience. They still manage
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
retain all the training that they've done, and I think it's something really valuable. And whether or not
Yeah.
the project has gone forward, usually the people do, because the work they've
Yeah.
done it's still good. And I think that the work that was done on Limit Theory was really, really good. I was like, yes, show me more devlogs. And I remember actually, now that you mention, I remember actually reading the sort of the post that announced that the game was going to get cancelled, and it was quite
Uh-huh.
intense. I remember, and
Yeah.
it really resonated with me because at the time I had projects that were in a similar situation. And I think that as a game developer, we all have projects at some point that
Yeah.
are in that position. So I remember sending a message to him and saying like, yes, I love the game, but yes, I understand, and don't feel guilty. Like this is okay, and it's
Yeah.
good, I guess. But
Yeah, it was really like a lot of it was really up to Josh. Like it was definitely who was the person who originally like started the project and everything. And so definitely like the cancellation was like a lot harder on him than like the rest of us than on me and Adam. But I think it was definitely a good choice for him personally in the long run. And I think like I think like we all definitely got a lot out of it. And I mean Adam and I especially like it was definitely like career changing for us. I think that is a good point for, a lot of these like a game dev graveyard projects, like things that don't happen. Like you said, like the people still go on and like I would choose to work on limit theory like again, like every single time, definitely,
and
because
I would love to
it was,
play it.
yeah, I know. I know that that is such a bummer, but for us, for people like me and Adam, like it was really life changing to get the opportunity to work on something that we wanted to work on. Adam got to work on more engine stuff, and now he's an engine programmer at Blizzard, which was a total 180 from what he was doing before, which was just like client gameplay game development, and for me also like getting to do graphics programming, like that was not what I was doing my full-time job at EA, and then I got to switch to that because of the work that I did on limit theory basically. So yeah, it was definitely like such a good opportunity. But yeah,
Exciting.
I love that you read the devlogs though. I didn't know that you were reading the limit theory devlogs. That's
I
great.
was a big fan actually, and I forgot to work on that when you mention it.
Uh-huh.
When you mentioned it like a few minutes ago, I was like, I forgot about that. We should have talked about that for
That's
like
really
3
funny.
hours. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I told you I have a terrible memory, right? It wasn't a joke.
that's so funny. Is that how you ended up finding my work in the first place, because of limit theory?
Maybe again, you're probing too back in my memory. I have no.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
It
That's
might
really
have
interesting
been.
because I think that my well, the person who was my boss at Blizzard, although he just left Blizzard, which is a bummer. I think that he was either following me because uh of my procedurally generated spaceships. Well, I think he found my Twitter because of the tutorial that you linked in one of your tutorials. So you're like sideways like responsible for me getting hired
So
at Blizzard,
wait,
just so you
why
know.
didn't
'Cause my
hire me then?
I don't know. That's really funny. You seemed occupied. I was begging for somebody to hire me. I was on Twitter like, hey, I'm like looking for a job. So that's why they DM'd me and were like, you should apply for this one. But he was following me originally because of the tutorial that you linked. So just so you know, you helped me get hired at Blizzard.
So now I'm
Um,
officially a recruiter. I want a cut. I want like
yeah.
10%, what, 30%. Let's go like Steam, 30%.
Yeah, you should have gotten a referral bonus. Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, beside that,
Funny.
I can send you like the contract to sign after this. But beside that, is there anything you want to show us today? Is there anything you've been working that you want us to see?
Oh, totally. I mean, I have so much that I could show in Unity. I could show you first some like tutorial stuff that like I can show you a lot of behind the scenes for like the shader tutorials that I wrote. And then I
Perfect.
also have a couple of like projects that are like indefinitely on hold that I could also show you in Unity. So
We will love
are
all
you
of
ready for me
that.
to are you ready for me to share my
Yeah, yeah,
screen?
definitely.
Okay, great. All right. Wait, hang on. Ta-da. All right.
Yes,
Are we
yes,
looking
we
at
can
Unity?
see it. We can see it.
Ah, great, great.
So I
Cool,
already
yeah.
have a
So this is
question. So the dog. Tell us about the dog.
oh yeah, so my friend Katana, her Twitter handle is at Ivory T. She modeled this dog for a project that unfortunately I don't think I have it on this computer, which is a bummer, but this would be a great graveyard story actually. This is a project that we started like several years ago that was going to be a like dog shelter simulator where you like run like a I mean, you run a dog shelter that tries to get dogs adopted. So this was a model that we made, that Katana made for this game. And that project, we unfortunately didn't like follow through. We kind of just like ran out of interest for it. But that was
No,
like
no, I
one of
don't
the first.
understand. I don't understand. Stop killing the
What do you
things I
mean?
love.
I know. I know. I don't know why we didn't follow through with it. I think honestly, I personally was just not ready in that point in my life to like commit to a long-term project. This was when I was like working at EA, and I think I was gonna collaborate on it with like another friend who worked at EA and like a couple of Katana's like artist friends who we all knew from college. But yeah, we never like made very much for it, but it sure was a cool idea.
So I think that now we need an episode with Katana to show her, to show us all of her dogs and all of the stuff if it still exists. Now I'm really
I
interested.
know, I know. Uh, yeah, let me quick pull up Unity Hub real quick and see if I don't have it. I don't think I have. I have so many. Oh, this is so funny because I have so many other like
Projects.
Unity projects in here.
I
You
know
see,
it's a
last
mess.
modified 2 years ago. Like, and that's not even accurate. Like some of these are even older than that. But there are so many. Yeah, we don't have like the dog shelter game on here, but I do have so many other random projects on here. Yeah,
But yeah, don't
that
worry.
I
We can look for
finished.
it after if it's.
But yeah,
Don't worry.
but yeah, I was just curious if I still had it, but I don't think I have it on this machine right now. But yeah, that was a cool project. Katana and I are still collaborating on stuff now. So these are people that I've continued to work with, even though that particular project didn't work out. That's another cool like game dev graveyard thing. I feel like sometimes those relationships with people that you like start projects with like come and go with the projects, but my friendship with Katana and our collaboration has continued despite our many game jams or games that we've started but not finished. So that's really cool. That's something we've put a lot of effort into. But yeah, did you guys want to see tutorial stuff? The
Yes.
shader tutorial?
Yes.
Cool. So most of these were actually released, which is great, I guess. But let me show you like one or two that weren't. Like this was just from like a basic like how to do like diffuse lighting tutorial. Also, this I added this like shaders are cool text to it because I was making this presentation for this college class about shaders and I wanted to make it funny. So I made the first slide the dog, but it says shaders are cool on it. Let's see. Um, I think this curtain. Oh yeah, I was like trying to mess with making some like interesting lighting, like, ooh, what if there were like blinds and there was like a translucent curtain behind it or something like that. I don't even know what happened to it. I think I was trying to make like a waving curtain also with some like vertex displacement. I think this was one of my first times messing with any kind of like animated vertex displacement. And so it like didn't work. Oh no, no. Oh, maybe there's vertex displacement in the shader. Yeah. I wonder if it I wonder if it goes at all. Oh yeah, this is great. I think it just straight up doesn't work. Let me turn on animated. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Oh, I can see something.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely like wrinkly, but it's not like animating.
Oh, was it like the curtain moving or something like that?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to get like a nice like curtain movement. And this is so funny because I'm looking at this now, like I'm sure I could easily figure out like, the way that like my backdrop, the way that like curtains are draped like vertically and wiggle around. But this is just like not that different from the water, where it's just like using this noise texture for displacement, which is not in the shape of like a curtain at all. And also, it's funny the way that it's like clipping outside the bounds of the mesh, or I
Oh,
think that's what's going
is it
on
sort
here.
of
So
at a different angle? Because if you go on the side, I can see it has the sine wavy pattern.
yeah,
So maybe it's a gravity is a bit
yeah.
shifted.
This is like baby's first like vertex displacement shader. So it just like I don't know why I gave up because I feel like I probably could have figured it out eventually, but it was just not working at the time. I like the setup too. I like these like light coming through the blind sort of thing I've got going here. I wish I had like done more with that. But yeah, I don't know. I very frequently would like start ideas for these tutorials and then just like not follow through with finishing them.
So I think
I
that
don't
for every
know.
tutorials I've published, I have at least three
Uh-huh.
that I started and
Oh yeah.
didn't go anywhere. And sometimes I just lost interest. I'm not interested anymore in that
Mm,
kind of things. Sometimes I've gone crazy and I couldn't finish it. But I think something really interesting that you've shown is that, if people look at your blog, they're thinking, oh my God, he's so good. He must be able to write shaded code, with closed eyes. And I think that is not
uh-huh.
usually what happens, when we're doing those kind
No.
of things. They tend to start super, super rough. And then just by keep working on them, they ended up being something, barely playable. And then, something
Yeah.
you can almost look at, and then, something you can be sort of proud of, and then something, okay, this is good. But it rarely happens, at least for me, that I just start writing something and bam, it works at the first try. And a lot of people, I think, they
Yeah.
assume that I can, write shaded code without, without even looking at anything. And I don't think that's the case, and especially code, I always keep telling my students, code is not a performance, and
Mm-hmm.
you cannot
Truly.
expect people to just write code, like that and have it work. It's an iterative process, and usually
Yeah.
one where you rage quit. And
Yeah.
I think, a couple of episodes ago, someone asking me, "Oh, Alan, why didn't you do live streaming of you coding?" I was like, "Because I rage quit."
Yeah, I've actually streamed like coding a couple of times and I have found that like you said, like coding is just like not a performance. Like it's really not as interesting to look at as you would hope. The couple of times that I've streamed coding, I've either like not chatted with the audience that much because verbalizing everything that you're thinking about while coding is just like really hard. Or one time I also did like a fake coding thing where I set up something that was a finished product and then commented most of it out and then just uncommented things as I went along and explained how each line worked.
Yeah,
And
like
that was pretty successful, but it's not coding. Like,
that's a thing like that. If, for example, in class, when I'm doing sort of live coding, it's not really live
mhm,
coding because I've done it before and I have my notes.
yeah,
So, and you can see that sometimes something doesn't work, and this is the moment, the pure moment of terror when it's like, oh fuck, it's not
yeah,
working, and
yeah,
now I'm like, okay, guys, this is good because now you see how we do debugging for real. Help me. And then you
yeah,
see the switch
exactly.
from like fake coding, sort of coding as a performance that is sort of memorized. And okay, let's solve it for real and let's see how we work. So I think there's value in doing both because, for example, something I don't really, well, I don't say that I don't like it, but something that I think is not very, I personally don't feel, for me it's more useful, is when I watch videos of people writing code and they already know what they have to write. Show me the final
Yeah,
code in a post. And I think this is why I do,
I know.
maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the same for you, but maybe this is why I do written tutorials, because I can cut and paste.
Yes.
I see immediately what for me it's interesting. It's not seeing people type
Mhm.
in code. Show it to me, or show me you struggling for real. I want to see tears, I want to see the sweat, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know if there's like just a different learning type of person who gets a lot out of programming tutorial videos because I am not that person. And that's also, like you said, like that's why I do written tutorials too, is because that's what I get the most out of. And that's why I really only try to make content that I fully understand like how people get get learning out of that content. Like I only make content that I would consume, which is why I almost never do coding streams, is because I just don't watch streams of people coding and I don't watch videos of people coding because like you said, like I need to be able to like go at my own pace and like read the code at my own pace. I don't want to be constantly like pausing and unpausing like a YouTube video. So that's why I do like written tutorials. I don't understand like watching videos of people coding
And
or like live streams either.
I think this is also one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show as a sort of first guest making tutorials, because I know like 15,000 people's making tutorials, but the vast
Yeah.
majority of them is actually they're actually making videos. And it's not, I'm making videos right now, but it's a very different
Yeah.
format. I don't know if I'm probably too late to start making video tutorials. I'd rather stick, I think my audience would probably prefer me to stick with written ones, and I think I've built audience that
Yeah,
at a level.
totally.
And it's
The only like coding tutorials that I've gotten out of like we talked about Dan Moran earlier who does like uh making stuff look good in Unity here on YouTube. Like his channel's great because his tutorials there's no you never see him like typing. At
yes,
least like I like he always just like he'll show algorithms on screen, but for the most part it's very visually like what happens in engine as a result of coding, and I feel like those are pretty effective. Like they're at least like very entertaining to watch. It's like if I'm going to watch a video and not be trying to like code along or whatever with the tutorial, I would like it to at least be entertaining, and Dan's videos are very entertaining. And like I'm hoping like of course this stream I'm not getting any code live, so it's not breaking the rules that we just established.
no, don't worry about. I think that now
Yeah,
after we
yeah,
talked about that, I think my dream is to have him on the show and singing together, like making a
yeah.
karaoke of making stuff good looking Unity.
uh,
That's my dream. That's my absolute dream now.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure that there are a lot of like cool game devs who would like to do this stream. But yeah, did you want to see more
Definitely,
unfinished
definitely.
products? This was really funny because this is me like realizing that I was trying to reinvent PBR. I was like trying to make this cool clay shader, and I was like, how do I make this look very matte like clay? And then I was like, wait, I should just be like writing a PBR shader and letting artists author their own like cool textures to define what clay looks like. And then I was like, why am I trying to like rewrite PBR? But
Well,
I
let's
was like
let's say
still
it's a
learning.
learning experience, right?
It was exactly that. It was exactly a learning experience. I also found these cool textures where it like looks like there's like thumbprints in the clay because
Oh,
I just
really
felt like this
nice.
dog looked like a cool like clay model. So I don't know. It didn't turn out that interesting, and I was like, okay, I guess I don't need to like relearn how to write PBR, but it was like a fun experiment. I
And
don't
I
even know
remember
what.
actually that Lego the movie when it came out, I
Mhm.
was blown by the quality of the graphics. Like it looks like real
What movie?
plastics. And sorry,
What movie?
Lego the movie,
Oh, the Lego movie. Yeah,
and
yeah.
you could see the fingerprints on the models. You can see the dirt, and I was like, that is the level of details that I'm looking for. Not a fake one. Show me it's real stuff. So I'm supposing they must have been doing crazy stuff. Oh, I
Uh,
love this one. Tell us about this one.
yeah, I never even I don't think I even posted this like updated version with the black rim on the eyeballs. I think I posted it with the white rim, but this one was really interesting because like I never actually wrote a tutorial about it. I like it's in my portfolio and I like tweeted a GIF of it, but I never posted a tutorial because it was just like a really long and complicated. And I feel like this was getting to the point where like my tutorials kept like increasing in complexity. Like I started with, just these really, really basic like water shader and like cell shader with like outline. And then they started getting really complicated. Like one of the most recent programming tutorials that I wrote was that like command buffers in Unity, like how do we actually modify the graphics pipeline to do interesting stuff? And so they kept like increasing in complexity where at first it only took me like I don't know, a couple of days to learn how to do something and then like, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours to write a tutorial to like 12 plus hours to write a tutorial or something, which like,
Yes.
I don't know how much time you spend on yours, but like, I don't know. Everybody spends a different amount of time on writing their tutorial. So let's not like worry about how the numbers that I'm saying. The point is that just like they were increasing in complexity and it was getting to the point where I was like spending so many hours like writing them, it was like kind of getting out of hand. And so I think for this one, it was like also getting really complicated because there's actually several objects going on here. So there's like the iris is a sphere and that's a second that those are separate objects from the cornea, which is like also a sphere. Like that's where this rim is a different object from
Nice.
the iris, which is like the part that's green here, which is a different object from the pupil. Um, oh, and the pupil is cool too because this was like baby's first SDF. How did I?
Oh, it's an SDF. Nice.
Yeah, so it can expand just like a cat eye. And cat eyes actually like work quite like this, which is really cool. Like they don't just expand like horizontally, they also do actually increase in size like vertically. So this is like actually quite accurate. But yeah, I was very proud of this. I love the way that this looks. Um but yeah, so there's like a separate so there's like SDF for like sine distance field for the pupil, and then the cornea is, I think this is just a really simple, like the black outline is just a Fresnel. Um, and then the specular is, it's really, the specular is really cool because it's like very faked. Like it's like using some properties of like specular reflections, but then there's nothing about it that's trying to be like true to the scene. This was actually my first time I'm like interpreting a uh like white paper graphics programming paper and then interpreting that into code. And I don't think I even
Oh,
did exactly
nice.
what the paper was trying to say at all. I think I like took some inspiration from it and like tried to interpret their algorithms and didn't quite get there, but I got pretty close because this is a paper about like that just had a I've got to find this paper again. It was so cool. I actually think I have it like
Is
in
it
the
like
shader
SIGGRAPH
code.
stuff?
Huh? Is it I don't remember if it was published in SIGGRAPH or not, but it was certainly very cool. Let me
So while you're looking for that, I don't know if you want to look for that. I think you mentioned something spot on. So you talk about
uh,
Fresnel, and you know
mhm.
I'm teaching a bit of shaders sometimes, and I think guys, if you're going to talk about Fresnel reflection, it's not Fresnel. It's written Fresnel, but it's pronounced Fresnel, and I think that that immediately sets apart people who have studied that kind of stuff from people that have just
Yeah.
like quickly googled it, and I think it's a good advice if if
Hmm.
you're having a job interview, make sure that you know how to pronounce all the technical terms correctly, because some of them you might have only read them
Yeah.
online. And for me, if I see a student that is talking about Fresnel, I'm like, you googled it, right? You didn't.
I know I was see, I was so lucky that like when I was doing all of this, like I was doing all of this at the same time, or I think shortly after working on limit theory. So I had Josh, the person who had started limit theory, in my life as a mentor to me because he studied graphics programming at Stanford. So like he, at Stanford, they're like really big on like reading all the white papers and like studying all of this. They have like a bunch of graphics programming classes, as opposed to LSU, which only had like one graphics programming class. And so he was there to luckily be the person to correct me on things like Fresnel versus Fresnel because there was no way I would have known otherwise. I had like no idea.
I mean, we're
So
probably not pronouncing 100% correctly still, but at least, I think it
yeah,
shows that you know a bit about a field. And I think, it's a tiny detail that, especially in job interviews, or in exams, I think it makes a difference. I think you can show it sets apart the thing. But
yeah,
for
totally.
the people that don't know what Fresnel is, basically every object, no matter how matte and rough it is, when you look at a glazing angle. So, for example, imagine a sphere. When you're looking at the edge of the sphere, the rim has a sort of shininess to it. Many reasons that can explain why it happens. But basically, usually in computer graphics, when you see a rim light around something where it's curved, that's usually the rim light effect is usually a Fresnel effect, exactly
Yeah.
like we see now. And there's a very specific equation that shows those kind of things. And we also talk about SDF, which is some of you have not heard of. Basically, when you create stuff in a game, it can either be a texture, so you could potentially have a texture with the drawing of the pupil of the eye, or you can have a piece of 3D geometry. And SDF, it's a sort of way of defining geometry via equations, and they're rendered by pixel. So it's a way of having, if you want, infinite precision geometry. It's a different way of creating geometry that doesn't rely on 3D models, but it relies on equations. And so you can zoom in as much as you want. It's the equivalent of like vector graphics for 3D models, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So hopefully, the people listening are not are not panicking if we use
Yeah.
too many,
Yeah. So
shady
don't even
words.
worry if you like don't know what all of these terms mean. But if you are interested in like graphics programming in particular, then some of these techniques, like, Fresnel and like specular reflections and stuff, are definitely like good things to learn. Because the cool thing with like Fresnel, my personal interest in graphics programming is in stylized stuff. And so this Fresnel here, like you said, it is an inherent property of like light, and it's something that you can use to like photorealistically simulate things, that the edge of things like reflect light in a certain way that um can make them like brighter on the edges. But here, obviously, like that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm using it to do this very stylized aspect where it just darkens the edges of the cat, which I think has like just an interesting stylized look to it. And like the specular reflections here also are not necessarily like simulating what they would actually look like in real life. I'm just giving them a cool like toony effect. But yeah, it's really interesting. But yeah,
Well,
I don't know. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm like, man, I should have like written a tutorial.
I
Maybe I'll write
know,
a tutorial
right?
on this now. I'm like feeling inspired because it is cool. And I bet now, especially like being so much more experienced that I am in graphics programming now, if I was to go and like look at that white paper again, I bet I would be able to interpret it better. Or do like a better job like reading it. I was pulling up the code because I was hoping I had linked it from the shader itself, but I'm sure I could find it again somehow. But yeah, I totally need to like write a tutorial on that one.
So for the people watching, if you want to see this as a tutorial, please write it into the live chat. so
Oh my gosh,
so
yeah.
maybe we can sort of put a bit of pressure, just because there isn't enough, right? To
Yeah,
have this.
exactly.
And I think that this is actually really good because you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned, oh, this is it's a stylized, it's a style. And there was
Uh-huh.
an interesting conversation that I've seen on Twitter where that Unreal published the video where they shows the new technology. What's the
Uh-huh.
name? Nanite. I don't know.
I
Basically,
don't
they can have like infinitely many triangles on screen, and they're all sort of
Oh
dealt
yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
automatically. And some people were a bit like, oh, well, but that is not what makes good graphics. What makes good graphics, it's the aesthetics. And
Yeah.
yes, it's true. And I think it's definitely true. You don't need 1 trillion triangles to make something look good. If the only way you have to make something look good is 1 trillion triangles, then probably you're not good at making art. But that being said, I think there is a lot of value in being able to do both kind of things. Both being able to have like low poly, very good aesthetic, very good style,
Hmm.
and being able to have super high fidelity reconstructions. I think, they're both two different things. Now,
Yeah.
as indies, probably we're better off with style more than 1 trillion polygons, but there are many more applications behind games where you might want to have 1 trillion polygons. So
Hmm.
I've seen some nasty comments about Unreal new stuff, and I'm like, no, it's good. You don't need to use it, but it's
Hmm.
someone else needs to use it, and it's awesome. But for indies, you're probably better off at learning how to be good with what you have and have a simple style. Or at least that's what I think.
Uh-huh.
We have a comment from Josephine Barthel saying, "I want that tutorial."
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm really glad that you like my blog. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think that was most of the interesting stuff that was in here. I don't know this sparkly. I think I was trying to do like I don't know why it looks like this. I haven't looked in this in so long, but I think I was trying to do like a sparkly like snow reflection thing. You know how like when you I don't know. I was particularly just very inspired by Snow and Overwatch. Man, when I interviewed for Blizzard, I just like talked about how cool Overwatch's graphics were so much that somebody who had worked on Overwatch who was interviewing me was like, "Can you talk about
Oh
any
my
other
god! Oh my
game?"
god!
I know it was so funny, but yeah, I I think this was in particular inspired by like when you're walking around in Overwatch, in any like snowy environment, there's like a sparkle that kind of like changes with the camera angle, which I thought was really cool. So I think that's what I was working on here, but who knows what happened. It looks like I was partially successful at least.
I've been
Who knows what happened to it,
I
but
don't know if you've seen it, I've been working on the Journey shader sound rendering tutorial. And yeah, I think
oh yeah, I saw
they
that.
have the glitter effect. I mean, they have 15 layers of effects. But I know they have this sort of
Mhm.
shininess, specular reflection from the sun glittery bits, which is very
Mhm.
similar to a snow shader. I think
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
end of it, it's probably the same, or if not the same, it's a very similar kind of meat, I guess.
probably. Yeah, I'll totally have to look at that tutorial later. Um,
So, do you have any cool projects that you've been working on that you want to show us?
yes, I'm opening one of them right now. That's okay. We don't need to save this. Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing screens for just a sec. Or actually, never mind. We've got code in the background. I was like, oh no, I don't know what it's gonna show when I close Unity.
No, no, don't worry. We're back on the two screens. Let me know when the stuff is on
Oh
screen.
yeah, when it's yeah, I have a project that I want to show that's like I wouldn't say it's quite in the graveyard. I would like to resurrect it later, but I just like haven't been putting as much time into it as I want to lately. It's a dating sim that I've been working on. It's so funny because it's so totally not like rendering. There's nothing interesting with like rendering going on, but there's like I think it is like an interesting project. Because I mean it's a dating sim and I made it like have you ever heard of or played Mystic Messenger?
Oh wait, is it the one where you write stuff to other people? No.
No.
Is it
No. Mystic Messenger is a dating sim that was made by like this indie studio in Korea that's like it's a dating sim, but it takes place on like a phone chat app. So like you're talking to the like six eligible bachelors in this like chat room. And so it's really cool because it's like a mobile game and it's made to feel like it takes place on like an actual like app, like
nice?
messaging app on your phone. And I was like, this is so cool. This is the coolest thing ever. I've played it like several times and I want to make literally exactly this, but I want it to have like the whole phone experience. So I want it to have like other apps like an Instagram type thing and there's like a Reddit type app on top of like your, text messaging app or whatever. And like there's also like a music like image gallery and stuff like that. So I've made so much for it, but I've hit like a brick wall because right now what I need to do is like write it because there's just I mean it's a dating sim so it's like mostly writing like it's very visual novel-y and I've written a bunch of like character outlines and stuff but I just haven't written all of the dialogue for it.
Markov chain. Go full Markov chain.
What do you mean?
Like you like make something that generates random texts.
Oh my god, no. I don't want to make it procedural. I want it to be like actually pretty straightforward, like slightly branching dialogue and stories kind of like in other dating sims based on like, whether or not the conversations that you have with people are successful or not. But no, there will be no procedurally generated or
So
Minecraft
wait,
chain
are you dating
conversations.
people? Like I think it's like if you're not dating pigeons or fridges or
No, you date
microwaves, it's
people.
not cool. I'm sorry, it's not cool.
Oh no. No, well, I mean, I made a dog dating sim. If you want to date not people, you could play I Rough You. I made a dog dating sim for a game jam like years ago. Um
Wait,
if you wanted to play like a funny dating
was it
sim.
was it the one with the candles? No.
With the candles? No.
Where you had like a sort of romantic dinner with the dog? No, it wasn't that.
Oh, no. That's the one where we have the candlelit dinner with the pug? No, that
Oh, okay,
wasn't
it
me.
wasn't that. Yeah.
I don't know who made that, but that game is genius. It's beautiful. Those pugs are kind of standoffish though, but that is a great game. I forgot what it was called.
Dating pug simulator. I don't know, but I'm sure if you Google it,
Yeah.
like it will probably. But let me know when you have stuff on screen that we
Oh
can.
yeah, here we go. Unity is now
Can
open.
can we go back?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's
Yeah,
see.
Unity takes like five ever to open.
The joys of Unity. So, how many
Yeah.
versions of Unity do you have installed on your machine?
I don't know. I
You
try to
lost
only keep a
count.
couple at a time. Oh wait, are you guys seeing the old Unity project or the
I'm
new
still
one?
seeing the old one. Yeah, I'm still seeing the one with
Oh,
the.
that's weird. Let me
Do you want to try to sort of unshare and reshare the joys of being live?
yeah. I
Let's see.
tried like undoing it and redoing it. It should be
Let's see. Still loading.
yeah, it should be sharing the new one now.
Let's see. I still can't see it. Dun 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 dun.
Oh, now we're looking at the Skype screen.
Now we're looking at the skies.
I
The joys of doing stuff live. Please Skype, tell me you didn't crash.
know.
The joy.
My GPU is like, what did you mean you wanted to share your screen and open and close
Too
Unity?
much. Too much.
There was like a split second where there were like two Unities open and my GPU was like, excuse, here, I'm gonna stop sharing and share again. I
So
think
we know
I'm
it's
gonna,
always Unity's fault. Come on, let's be honest.
I know. Oh, no.
But yeah, I think there was a time where I have 7 versions of Unity installed. And it's because at the time I was developing stuff on console. And if you're
Mhm.
doing stuff, for example, on Nintendo with Sony, you need to have a special version for PS4, a special version for PS Vita, a special version for the Switch. And I had like 5 different projects and they all had
Uh-huh.
the different they all had the different
Oh yeah, they're like all in different versions of Unity.
yeah, that is something that I'm not happy with Unity. And I think it's
I
getting
know.
worse. I think it's getting way worse, especially with the new rendering pipelines, with the new things. It's a shame
Yeah.
because for me what made Unity so accessible was the fact that it was easy to use and you can make something immediately. You don't even need to study C++ for 15 years to have something working. It was just
Mhm.
working, straight away. um so it's
Oh, I think my video is also frozen. I think you should end the call and then call me back
should
on
we try to
Skype.
do that? So
Yeah.
give me a
Yeah, just try
second.
doing that.
So for the one
Sure.
watching, give us a second and we will be back in 15 seconds, hopefully.
Let's
Are we
see.
back? Yes, we're back. sorry,
Excellent.
sorry for the interruption. But when you do stuff live, what,
Okay,
and you
well, my
have
video
Unity
is no
open,
longer frozen, so that's a good sign.
that's definitely a good sign. Is Unity frozen? We'll see.
Yeah, let's see. All right, let me I'm gonna try sharing my screen again.
You always try to rehearse these 15 times, but when stuff goes live, you never know.
Oh yeah, it's no problem. All right, I'm sharing my screen again. Let's see if
Let's
it
see. Let's see if it's starting now. Dun, 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 dun.
No. Oh, we're still looking at Skype.
We're still looking at Skype. No.
That's all right. I mean, I can also just like talk about the project.
Let's talk about the project and let's see. Let's see if at some point it will appear again.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so
Oh,
yeah,
you can have the webcam. You can move the webcam onto the.
I can just point the webcam at the screen. I think it would I think it would have those bands, when you have like when you have a camera pointing at a screen.
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
think property of light causes that to happen, but I'm pretty sure that's what it would
Is it
do.
like the Moire effect? Moire effect? You see, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Perhaps. But yeah, I don't know that this project that I'm working on, like, I don't know, I feel like it honestly it's just been kind of a bummer. Like one of the hard things about the time that we're in right now is that I feel like it's hard to have the creative energy to keep continuing to do like programming side projects after like coding at home all day at like the same desk, and then you don't even have that like mental separation of like going to the office and then coming home. And so I feel like it's been hard for me to keep up with like doing creative game development projects at home, uh since we're like working from home right now. Are you guys still like working from home in the UK?
Um, we are ish. The situation here, it's a bit. How can we say? I don't think that the lockdown was done as properly as it was supposed to do, especially given the number of people that unfortunately have been affected. But for example, at Goldsmith where I work, we all work remotely. We all do remote teaching, when we can.
Uh,
And I don't know what time we're going to resume the um, the thing. But
yeah,
just one thing, can you try turning the screen share on and off and on again, and let's see if it's going
yeah,
to
sure.
survive again.
Uh,
Let's try one last time, and if it doesn't, just turn it off, and
sure.
we can just chat about it.
Yeah, sure. All right, I tried. Oh, Josephine says, can we get a visual effect for a tutorial for a visual effect when you're trying to film a screen? I love
That's
this
actually
idea.
good. So, Josephine, actually, I was playing a game called Slime Rancher, I think it was, and they had these lovely LCD effects where basically when you go close to a monitor, you actually see the pixels of the display. So it looks like you're zooming in basically on a display. And I did a tutorial on how to do that effect. And I managed to find the exact same textures they used because it was the first one you can find out when you Google it, when you Google LCD monitor. But I think it will be really interesting because probably there's some very weird stuff going on that makes that happening. But no, we're still seeing Skype. So yeah, I think
Oh, bummer.
just turn it
See,
off
I
and
think I actually did a tutorial on something similar to this. That I definitely did a tutorial on like post-processing effects, and I think that I did one on like a creepy camera like post-processing effect. Actually, maybe I didn't.
is it like a
That's too
VHS
bad.
one or a like CRT monitor?
Yeah, I think yeah, it I did like this creepy like noise grain with uh what was it? This
Yeah,
like
yeah.
scan line effect.
So just recently, there was the Haunted PS1 game jam where people basically made games that look a bit scary with the graphics of old PS1 console.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm obsessed with that graphics, because that's my era, right? So I'm absolutely obsessed
Uh-huh.
with that kind of like low poly, uh, you know, affine transformation, stuff. So absolutely obsessed with that. But yeah, Josephine, I think that the one I have on my blog was called LCD display shader, and I got a lot of like nasty comments for calling it LCD display when it's actually LCD is already liquid crystal display. But I was like, give me a break.
That's so funny.
You have no idea.
That's
You
funny.
have no idea. Like when you write something and it sort of leaks outside the sort of niche where you usually have stuff,
Yeah.
people that don't usually see that kind of content, they start sending
Uh-huh.
you like death threats, you know nasty
Yeah,
comments. But
I know. See, you could tell I haven't really gotten my blog hasn't gotten really, really big because I don't get very many like mean comments. Like
you're
you're not really
nobody if you
successful
don't
until
get mean
people are like,
comments. You're
fuck,
nobody.
he's the worst thing. Yeah.
But
I mean, I get people correcting me sometimes, but nobody's been too mean. But I also like moderate all my comments, which is like uh I'm so bad at like keeping up with it sometimes, but most of my comments are
the
nice, which is
question
good.
is, do you post stuff on Reddit? I do.
Uh I used to. I haven't in a long time. That when I was actively promoting my blog, I would post on Reddit, but I haven't in a long
the
time.
the worst to me happens when I tend to write something that is always like, I always tend to add a bit of math um into my own tutorials because I think it's cool. I think it's something that people might need to look if they want to have a deeper understanding of why something looks like that and why that
Mm,
equation, rather than just bam, it is what it is. I think it helps people to
mhm,
create new effects rather than just using effects. And very often I simplify stuff because, well, first of all, I'm not a mathematician myself. So,
mhm.
I don't have that background necessarily to being able to go to that kind of detail sometimes. But sometimes I can, and I just simplify stuff to make it
Mhm.
more, because it's not a tutorial on integrals, it's a tutorial on shaders.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I make a few assumptions and simplification, and you always get people that are very, I think, anal about, those kind of topics
Mhm.
that you in their mind you did it wrong, and I can totally understand it because I think from some things I might be like that as well. But there is a fine line, I think, between helping people and showing them that they made a mistake compared to wanting to
Yeah,
show off. I think that that's it's a
yeah.
very, especially if it's like, oh, it's like that because you know nothing about math. I'm like, excuse me, I teach it.
I Incredible. Yeah. No, totally. I feel like there's just such an obvious difference in tone between somebody just being like, "Hey, I think there's like a typo here," or "Hey, I tried this and it like worked differently," or something like that, versus like people that are like, "Why do you think you're doing it like this?" or like, "You clearly like don't understand this concept," or whatever. It's like, and it's like it's not even that I don't want critique or like help or being people pointing out mistakes or anything, but there's like just such obvious difference in tone between people that are just like trying to show off versus just like generally genuinely trying to help. And I think even sometimes people who are genuinely trying to help don't realize that they're coming off as like
Maybe that's
just
me.
show offy or like rude. And so it's like the internet sometimes it's hard to convey tone, so I think people should try to like be aware of like whether they're coming from a place of like actually trying to be helpful or not, or whether or not their like correction or comment was like warranted.
I think one of my like most favorite like hate comments was about the
Hmm.
journey sound rendering tutorial, which I think it was like
Uh-huh.
6 or 7 parts. It's a big effect. It's rather complicated.
Hmm.
There's so many layers. There's so many things I wanted to explain, and someone said like on Reddit, "Oh, such a simple effect." And you had like 7 tutorial, or you just like hungry for money, you just want to get, and I'm like, okay, well,
Oh my god.
and I'm like, if you genuinely think that the sound rendering in Journey is an easy thing to do, you're a shitter god. You probably should get a job at Blizzard.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Yeah.
think it is. I don't think it's that trivial, and I wanted to explain it at a low level. But I really liked how there was the kind of stuff, and of course it's also my job. So, well, it's one of my many jobs. So of course I need to make money out of it. So of course I need to shape my content in a way that I can monetize. That would be a lie saying
Hmm.
that that is not. Otherwise, it would all be for free on my blog, right? But I think that there's a
Hmm.
difference between, um, you know, wanting to sort of milk money out of something compared to wanting to explain how it works really, really well and really, really into details. There was something like 15 diagrams I had to make by hand. So I wouldn't have done
Yeah.
any of those. I wouldn't have spent like 30 hours on each post if I didn't want it to be cool, right? But
Yeah, I think it's kind of ironic too how like if the tutorial's done well, then you're not thinking about how hard the tutorial writer had to work to like make it come off simple and like make it very readable and stuff. Like that's why some of the diagrams of some of my earlier tutorials for me just like drawing like
I
hand drawing
remember the
things on a
one
piece
about
of paper
geometry. I
because I'm just
remember,
like
yeah.
being lazy. Yeah, because I'm just like I don't have like the time to like put into making like beautiful diagrams or whatever. And they get like better production value as you like go on, which is really funny. But yeah, it's also just kind of like, man, if you like don't want to pay for this, you just don't have to. You don't. You just I am not forcing your hand to like
And all
pay
the
money
code
to
is
like read this
there. All the
tutorial.
code is there. You just have to cut and paste. Well, maybe there's a bit more, but essentially you have to cut
Yeah,
and paste. so,
yeah,
but
yeah. No, it's funny.
But yeah, so it's a shame that we didn't have a chance to see the projects, the dating sim, unfortunately.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's what, I'll just have to release it one day and then you guys will
I just
see
have
it.
to release it, and then we can have another episode of that. We thank you,
Yeah, exactly.
Skype, for, or maybe it was Unity. Maybe it's a combo.
Yeah,
Who
who
knows?
knows?
Who knows? Or maybe it's OBS. I don't know. We thank the combination of technology for not being able
Mhm.
to do that. But if you want to show it on Twitter or something, I can link it in the comments down below, so people can actually they can actually have a look at that. But in the meantime, if you have any comments or question, feel free to write in the live chat, and hopefully we can answer. If not, there is one. Thank you so much. So, Chris Sims said that the journey shader tutorial is great. Longer gives more insight. Thanks. Thank you so much. It was very long one. It was very, very long for me to write. People, I don't think ever understand, how long I've been working on that
Yeah.
season, on that tutorial for many many different reasons. But so before we close this one, is there anything you want to say? Is there anything you want to add? Any cool projects you're working on that people might be interested on? Where people can follow you if they want to follow you?
Oh yeah, totally. I'm most active on Twitter and my DMs are open. My I think you'll probably either have my handle in the description or something like that, but it's so underscore good underscore Lynn. That's my Twitter handle. And that's definitely where I'm most active. And my DMs are open. I don't know. Sometimes Twitter likes to throw like DMs from people that I don't follow into the like, this might be spam category. So if it takes me a long time, it's just because Twitter was trying to hide your DM. But I do try to answer every DM that I get and help people out with any of the tutorials that they see. And my tutorial blog is at lindenreid.wordpress.com, and it has a lot of like shader tutorials on it. And I'm totally always happy. Like I love teaching and I love helping people learn. So totally feel free to DM me to ask me about them or anything like that. And yeah, anything that I'm working on in the future, I'll definitely like tweet about. Um, and of course, I do also work at Blizzard, but anything Blizzard that I work on will be tweeted about by Blizzard and retweeted by me because I don't tweet about my work at
So
Blizzard,
no question,
obviously.
is all NDA. Don't ask questions
No
about
questions
that.
about Blizzard. But yeah, that's definitely the best place to follow me. Yeah, I haven't written any new shader tutorials in a long time, and what I write about is basically just going to depend on my current interests. But I'm thinking about continuing to write a devlog for my side projects, and that'll be more on like just general like client game development in Unity and like gameplay writing and maybe some like content creation tools. Because a lot of what I'm doing for the dating sim is either like gameplay stuff or like tools for the dialogue systems and how I actually like get the dialogue that I write into the game and do that like branching narrative. So I was thinking about writing devlogs about that. So you guys will have to tell me if you think that'll be interesting. Um, but yeah, that's probably what I'll be up to next. But
Awesome.
yeah, definitely please just feel free to DM me on Twitter if you have any questions because I love talking about stuff. So even if I'm not currently writing more shader tutorials, I'll always support them. So
We're writing them in
yep.
our head. At least that's for me. I have like hundreds of tutorials I want to write. But
Yeah.
so thank you so much, Linda, for being here tonight or today. I don't know what time is it where you
It's
are.
only noon here.
Oh God, no, it's 8. It's 8 p.m. here.
Yeah.
I haven't had food yet, but yeah. Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure. And anytime you have a new
Yeah, totally.
project, you're more than welcome to to join us again. Thank you so much again.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was really fun.
Bye. See you later.
Later.
So, before we close off, I just want to say thank you to all the people that made this live stream possible. And of course, I'm talking to all the people that are supporting me and my work here on Patreon. I think that, as you've probably seen from the conversation that we had today with Linden, behind every tutorial, there is a lot of work, there is a lot of research, and stuff doesn't always go as planned. And on top of that, we're always doing those kind of things basically on top of daily jobs. So it's really a lot of work. It doesn't seem so. And if it doesn't seem so, probably it is because we've done a good job. But, jokes aside, I think the Patreon is what has helped a lot of us to keep doing this, in our spare time. So anything that any support you can do on that is really good. And even in the case you cannot support creators like me, creators like Linden, don't worry, there are many other things that you can do to support us. You can subscribe to this channel for more content. You can follow us on Twitter for more content. All those kind of things really help us, being more visible and, hopefully, getting a better support. Now, before we close the stream and I say hello and I say goodbye to you, I just want to remind you that from now on, Gamedev Graveyard is streaming every Wednesday at 7 p.m. London time. So I will make an announcement every time. Unfortunately, this time we couldn't be that because when we have guests, it's a bit hard to find, the right time to do that. But hopefully next time it will work. We will have another guest, in particular David King. He's a lecturer in game design at the London College of Communication. That's the college where I was working before joining Goldsmith, and we spent about 3 years working together. And it's an absolute pleasure to being able to talk about him and to him about the stuff that he's doing. You might be familiar with one of his games called Tiny Island. I'm obsessed with that. Everybody's obsessed with that game. So hopefully we'll be talking a bit about that and some of these other projects that he's been doing. And on next Thursday, I'm actually on AI in Games with Tommy Thompson. We will be talking about AI games and teaching and education and the role that all those kind of things play together. So if you're curious about hearing me talking about that, please feel free to join to that as well. And with that being said, I really want to thank you for joining me tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you are. And hopefully you will be joining me for the next stream as well. Thank you so much. Bye. Have a nice day.